Good evening, everyone. Here we are with our webinar on SEL, Social Emotional Learning in Schools. The time has come. To quickly update you on what the webinar is about, this is being sponsored by Wiki Elementary Education India, which is a vertical of Women's India Chamber of Commerce and Industry, founded by Dr. Harbeen Arora and under the presidentship of Jasmine Kumar. This webinar is in partnership with Empowered Parents Forum and Super Parents. A quick introduction to the Empowered Parents. This forum is a non-profitable forum working towards a movement to connect parents worldwide and committed to providing tools to become conscious parents. And Super Parents is a parental community working to create a positive ecosystem around the parenting and child education. It has also started with its own EdTech platform, working in the area of experimental coding and learning that makes computer science education accessible to all. A short brief now about the webinar topic. Schools, we'll all agree, scare some children. Now, social emotional learning is not a new concept, but there are two reasons it has come to the forefront today. One, the national education policy has laid particular focus on this concept and emphasized a whole and holistic development of the child. And two, the second reason it has come into focus is COVID-19. 444 million children will join the workforce in the next 20 years. This is a recent World Economic Forum study that says that 65% of children entering primary school today will end up working in job types that don't yet exist. They will need skills like creativity, emotional intelligence, critical thinking, that only SEL can inculcate. So social and emotional skills are not intrinsic, unchanging qualities, everyone. There is evidence that quality interventions and the right support can develop and grow social emotional skills. With that, we are going to launch into this session. I'm going to start with a quick introduction to our galaxy of panelists here. My first panelist is Sujata Kulshresht. Do I see Sujata? All right, yes, Sujata.
Sorry about that.
Okay, not to worry. So first panelist is Sujata, and let me bring her on the screen to quickly show you who Sujata is in life. She's a documentary filmmaker, founder of Wide Angle Films. She's deeply passionate about social issues. Her expertise lies in creating compelling visual narratives. And under her leadership, the company has done several award-winning productions for clients like Discovery Networks, History TV 18, World Bank, and UNICEF. The latest documentary, India 2050. For the Discovery Channel, you have to watch it. It's a cold snapshot of what India can become if we don't wake up to climate change immediately. She finished her schooling from Vellum Girls School in Dehradun, 5.5 years master's in visual communication from the National Institute of Design, Ahmedabad, and she has served on the board of governors of the Scindia School, Gwalior, and the Vellum Girls School, Dehradun. We are particularly interested in that information, Sujata, about you. Wonderful to have you here with us on board.
Thanks, Dave.
Our next panelist is Sulafa. Sulafa Batterjee, I've been watching her TED Talks, an empathy catalyst in non-profit, a change agent in emotional quotient and learning and education for a better world and future. Her goals, communicating with the international audience. She's one jet-setting catalyst, driving for change by empowering youth agents towards positive change in the societies, and her particular specialities are non-profit Islamic endowment, assessing skills, and leadership programs for youth. And of course, goes without saying, coaching and emotional intelligence. Thank you so much, Solafa, your rich experience, your fantastic body of work. We are thrilled, absolutely thrilled to have you here. Welcome. I'm going to now bring Nancy on the screen for everybody to see. Nancy is a success coach, communication strategist, and leadership mentor. She has over 15 years of hands-on experience in a family-owned school, Shanti Gyan Niketan Group of Schools, founder and CEO of RevUp, co-founder Mentorex, which was established to serve the society. Their twin motives are skill development and research delivering. Also, leadership modules for youth startups and corporate. Nancy helps the attendees to learn to balance their societal expectations. Expectation management is such a huge thing. She also helps them to have realistic dreams with a pragmatic success roadmap and achieve it with courage, compassion, and clarity. Thank you, Nancy, for being on the panel, and welcome.
Pleasure.
Sogat is our guest from our friendly neighbor Nepal, multi-potentialite. He calls himself a multi-potentialite, founder of Mighty Minds that understand the impact of imagination and attempt to nurture it for lifelong learning through their programs. He's been a mentor at 6 Seconds, where they are working toward 1 billion people practicing emotional intelligence. He's a board member at Nepal Animal Welfare and Research Center and leader at the Duke of Edinburgh's International Award, Nepal. It's the largest youth achievement award in the world, I will have you know. Sogat, welcome. Welcome to the panel. Welcome to this show.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
And here's Lata. Lata is the founder director of Meraviglia EQ Academy. She heads a global team of kids and parents, life coaches that she's training and she's certified. She enjoys creating the best coaching tools and material for children, coaches, educators, leaders, trainers. Certified life coach, emotional intelligence trainer. She's also an assessor and educator, NLP practitioner, 18 years of IT industry experience. Lata loves helping people achieve their goals. She trains her coaches and clients to change the people positively. She says, one at a time. Welcome, Lata. With that, we are off to a start. And our first question, Lata, is for you. Let me start by asking you, how old is the concept of SEL, and why is there a sudden and new urgency around SEL today? And one more thing, what is the right age to be starting SEL?
Okay, so SEL, when it comes to social emotional learning, this skill came to an existence with Daniel Goleman writing about emotional intelligence in 1995. But back even before that, in 1978, Dr. Annabel Jason had discovered self-science, which is, you can say, the base of social emotional learning, can help students and schools to thrive. So we can say that SEL exists since 1978. So yes, it's quite a old concept, but now it is taking space and coming to all the countries and all the schools. We want all the schools to accept and start implementing this skill. So you asked me a second question, that why is the sudden need of SEL now, and why we are saying that schools must implement this after this COVID, after this pandemic. this has become even more crucial, more important to implement this skill as a whole school program, so that teachers, students, parents, everyone can learn this skill. It is very, very important for all of us to learn this skill and use it in our day to day life to manage our emotions, to have better relationship building, to be empathetic with ourselves and with others as well. So it is required a lot after this pandemic. There's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of distress in children as well. So this skill can help face, tackle all these issues. That's why there's a certain urgency that we must, without wasting time, should start helping our teachers, students, and parents to learn the skill and be ready for the future, because we also don't know what future will bring us. With this pandemic, we have known that life is so uncertain, but now we have seen that how uncertain it is. We have been under lockdown, or you can say quarantine, for the past 6 months, and so the children are also at home. So once they will come back to schools, they will need something where teachers are ready to welcome them, where students can feel connected back to their education, and this skill can really help. And yeah, you asked what is the right age to start SEL. So the right age for SEL is early as possible, from the foundation years, and it should continue. It should continue till we live. It is something that everyone should practice in day to
Absolutely.
day life, like emotional intelligence. When we talk about emotions, this is something that remains with us since birth and till we die. And children, they start feeling the emotions, they start talking around emotions as soon as they become 6 7 years old, and they continue to evolve and accept more and more emotions over the time. So it should continue, same as we talk about yoga. So yoga, knowing yoga and doing yoga are two different things. Similarly, knowing emotional intelligence or social emotional learning and practicing it every day is very, very important. So it is for everyone, and I think it should continue. Once you start practicing it, it should never be like you leave it behind. It should be part of
Thank
our
you.
life. We have to do it every day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lata. Thank you for that. Now, Sogat, we're always eager to learn from each other, right? How are you doing it in your country? And what is the status in your country, the ACL implementation, and how is it different or better than other holistic programs?
Okay, so SEL has remained as a part of our culture since forever, and I think since the foundation of our culture comes from the philosophy where we learn about compassion, kindness, respect, and even spirituality from very young age, but yet it feels like we have started to fall back a bit from these fundamentals in the name of adapting and developing these dynamics of SEL and well-being. I would say the implementation status of SEL in Nepal hasn't been that prioritized because as per the data of UNICEF that was disclosed to public in 2018, 8 out of 10 children in Nepal experiences violent discipline both at school and at home. And that is over 80% of Nepali children in between 0 to 14 years old. And the consequences of these form of disciplines ranges from several learning disabilities, behavioral issues, and even depression. So therefore, it has been very important for every one of us as an educator and parents or guardian to be able to reconnect with these values that we already know and have that we already have, and while also be adaptive towards the concept of other different communities. And secondly, I believe that the three basics of making a child successful, child succeed at school is relationship with their peers, positive interaction with
Yes.
teachers. Lastly, it's positive classroom climate. So, and to achieve those basics, those fundamentals, educators need to embrace the dynamics of social and emotional learning, so that first they will be equipped with the tools to manage themselves, their emotions, and build encourage relationships with their students, support positive learning atmosphere, and as a whole support child, as a whole support that child needs to succeed in their academics and even emotional well-being. So I have personally observed many programs that is inclusive of making students competent in several skills and to foster them with culture, values, their beliefs. But among many holistic programs running at schools, I would say social emotional learning or SEL is better because it comprises all three key dimensions of a child's growth.
Yes.
The first one is
Yes.
about parent involvement in education. Second one is about community involvement in education, and third one is about the whole school-wide curriculum that we do.
Absolutely.
So, moreover, SL skills can be taught to students of primary, like Lata ma'am told. We can start it very early. So there are these several tools to access the benefits of SEL in the academic growth, their motivation, problem-solving skill, relationship skills, etc. So there are lots of other things that makes social emotional learning more better than the holistic programs that the schools are running right now.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so
Thank you, Sogat, for that. And Nancy, what is the best way? You are running schools. What would be the most effective way to implement SEL in a school, entire school? And how do you say it's going to help the teachers? Because there is a little bit of resistance there. Yes.
Yeah, you truly portray that. That definitely, talking about the first part, I'll say, a child is a born programmer. Nobody told a child to cry or smile. Similarly, when he enters the school, we need to start SEL skills from the formative years, from the foundation years. So it has to be a clear framework in entire segment of the schools, from primary to middle level to the senior level, so that it is a natural process. All the more that the children are so adaptive to it that they don't feel that they need to do an extra effort to follow it, and they must realize that are they following the SEL skills or not. It should be natural. So what I see in my school currently, it has been definitely a transformation since almost 3 decades. The way we inculcate these skills in children, among children, is different. But not just in my school, as a part of RevUp, as I've taken in more than 50 to 60 schools when we imparted life skills and all, I see each educator is different. And so each child is different. We as educators, we need to develop our own propaganda. We need to, experiment it time and again as what fits for my child. As we talk about SEL skills, it is definitely about the psychology to match the wavelength of the teacher and the children. So definitely there are some simple ways that we have adopted. And frankly, this is something that, as natural as starting the day with
Yeah.
gratitude, a language, a common
Right.
language, a shared language among the teacher and the students, talking upon it, discussing upon it. And, not just this, not just leaving all the way, be curious, upon developing new ways, maybe, expression through art, or reflective writing, or having a storytelling method in their teaching moments, working in partnerships, working in groups, everything. There's so many strategies that definitely we have been practicing as an educator, and I believe the teachers are so versatile that they find their own ways, giving them new vocabulary to say,
Yes.
using
Yes.
anchor charts to show the social emotional learnings. And as you said, the second part, whether, it is gonna help teachers or how it gonna be. So definitely it I've witnessed how it helped teachers, because when we use all these strategies, role play, talking time, discussion time, to build a community, to build a group, what happens is a teacher develops a unique bond with the child, which is not when
Yes.
only you are teaching a lesson plan. It comes when you have these moments. And trust me, when we have a rapport building between an educator and the student, teaching is all the more fun. We all know how much passionate we are in our education field. And trust me, when we have a wonderful bent of understanding, teachers are helped. Once they know their child, they definitely can mold their lesson plan accordingly, and they can aim at peak performance of academics also, side by side, by inculcating the SEL skills.
Thank you very
That's it from my
much. Thank you. Sujata, I'm coming to you first. I India 2050, the future now. I've watched this alarmist teaser, and our young today, they do feel anxious about the future. How do you think SEL is going to help them there? Is there a problem with the mic?
Ma'am has to unmute.
Unmute.
Sorry,
Yes, thank you.
sorry
Thank
for
you.
that. Like Nija said, I'm a filmmaker by profession. Thanks, Nija, for the introduction and for getting us all together today. I'm going to take a minute to talk about my film, which is about climate change. It's called India 2050 because it places climate change in 2050 and tells us that if we don't wake up to it now, how bad 2050, how bad it'll be in 2050. And why we've used that as a basis over here for our discussion today, one of the reasons is that we chose to take a very alarmist route. Very consciously, we chose to take an alarmist route in the film so that it would be a wake-up call for the audience who watches it. Now, where I'm coming from is the fact that if you have strong social and emotional skills, if a child has strong social and emotional skills, the way you would respond to a situation like this would be very different from a child who is not so emotionally strong. So, for example, in the West, already things like climate depression or eco-anxiety have started becoming terms, which a lot of young people are grappling with as issues. And they are watching, they're very aware. So, every time they're watching a documentary or they're watching a film where there is, something about their future, they are tending to go into anxiety. They are actually sort of going to that extreme where they are going into depression, they're going into clinical depression, into anxiety. And parents as well as teachers are finding it difficult to cope with it. So I think that where SEL comes into play right from, a very young level is the fact that, a child is then able to deal with anything and everything with a certain positive response. So, there are two ways to deal with any kind of situation. You can deal with it positively, you can negatively, you can fret over it, or you can deal with it positively. So a child who has strong SEL skills is going to respond to the situation by saying, okay, let me go out there and start doing something about it, rather than just get depressed about it. So that's where the difference arises. And I think that's where we can help them strengthen their responses by giving them that strong skill right from the beginning. And to me, I know it's become a formal part of the curriculum now. Yet I feel that it should be part of everyday learning for every child in every classroom. And, whether for a teacher as well as for a parent, I feel it's equally important to work in partnership to build that skill for a child. Because, one of the things I had said is that, we immunize our children the day they are born.
Yes.
This is our immunization for our children as well. This is the vaccine. This is the emotional vaccine that we can give our child to deal with any kind of future sort of social challenges that they might face, up ahead in life. So this is really, the immunization that we are giving them. This is how we are fortifying them by giving them this skill to respond to a situation. Thank you.
Thank
Nida.
you. Thank you, Sujata. Sulafa, you're on screen now, and I'm really, really curious because you've been the education ambassador of Generation 2030. That's a wow. And I heard you speak brilliantly about the challenges of being an Arab woman in your TED Talk. What role do you see SEL playing in making life more meaningful for the next generation of women?
Hello, everyone, and I am honored to be part of this panel. I think as a start, we need to be very aware that women has always had a meaningful role in societies. I think with all the changes that are happening right now, with all the challenges and looking into the future, I think they will have even more demanding roles as playing and wearing different hats. Women are the engine of functioning societies. Societies with empowered women, nurses, mothers, teachers, entrepreneurs, managers, CEOs these societies are the societies that are going to lead the world in the future. I think as a start to have a better future for women in societies, We need to empower them with three main streams. The first is self-understanding, knowing yourself, being aware of your feelings and emotions, and even the feelings and emotions of people around you, being able to read people, being able to, and being aware of what options do you have as a woman in the different roles that they play in the society? What options do I have as a mother? What option do I have as a manager? And how these different options and roles interact and affect each other. How is my lifestyle affecting the society
Yes.
I am functioning in? How can I give myself fully in these roles? How can I be a fully committed mother, but at the same time, a fully committed nurse or a manager or a CEO? And how to create that balance that does not drain me as a woman, and at the same time gives me the same opportunities and place me in leadership roles in these societies. And then creating that model that doesn't only apply for women, but maybe as women, since we had the roles of developing and structuring families, and then that role moved into developing and structuring societies and being empowered to enter the workforce last couple of years. I think we face different challenges nowadays than the challenges that our mothers and grandmothers used to face. Empowering young women, future ladies, through educational systems with skills that enable them to really support their societies in the future is becoming more crucial, as the other panels have shared. Okay, the importance of self-empathy while empathizing with the society need, the importance of being aware of my goal in life, my vision, without it being a reason for me to not function in the main roles that I play in the society, being a mother or a wife. Balancing all of that will enable us to create a more stronger roles for our women in the societies.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, it's there is unison amongst the panelists, of course, that there is an urgency and there is a whole lot that implementation of SEL can achieve, and the time is now. Lata, what issues can SEL possibly handle, and how long does it take to turn an entire school into an SEL school? Lata, unmute yourself.
Sorry, what? So yes, SEL has a lot to give to everyone. If implemented as a whole school program, SEL can actually handle issues like mental health problems. It can tackle to the depression, anxiety, undisclosed behavior of students. It can also, help children who are undergoing a lot of bullying issues. They can actually face it strongly and build a lot of self-confidence in children. It can solve issues like racism and biases. So lot many things can be tackled if this program is implemented as a whole school program. So because we always say that this skill help us to manage our difficult emotions, so if we know the skill how to manage these difficult emotions, we will be able to face all the challenges that comes our way. So these are the issues that a lot of people are talking around, like mental health issues or depression, anxiety, but these are the after effects.
Yes.
What if we create, we make our children see through, from the beginning, if we tell them how to face these issues, so they never occur. So we are seeing that no matter how big the person has become, if let's say somebody is a CEO, is heading an organization, and not able to cope with the emotions and taking extreme steps like suicide, what are we teaching? Where is our education gone then? So these skills can really tackle to it, and they are very strong if we implement it as a whole school program and from an early age. It is very, very required. all these problems can be solved to a great extent. And as I say, yes, it does take a lot of time. It will take a lot of patience from schools, from educationists, from students to have this skill implemented as a whole school skill. It can take anywhere from, it practice. If you go talk about practice, it will take many years, because it is something that has to be done every day. But when we talk about the schools, at least a 3-year program is required, from base to making it to a whole school program where teachers, admin staff, students and parents all are part of it. It will anywhere take 3 years to implement this SEL as a whole school program.
Thank you, Lata. 3 years is what we are looking at. Saugat, I read your article on peer pressure. So this was in the Himalayan Times, and the popular view is that peers today have displaced parents in the lives of the modern young. Can SEL help our children and the youngsters to make the choices that are in their best interest? That is a concern. I'd like to know from you. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for going through my article. It was kind of unexpected for me. Okay, so, it's the hub of interaction where they do not just study, but invest lots of their time knowing about each other through different activities. And it is sad and painful at the same time for me, personally and professionally, to see how there's an immediate need of transformation in parenting techniques. So peer pressure is something that all of us have passed through, or maybe if not, then at least once in our lifetime. So as a human being, we want to be in this circle as it is our social nature. Now it's not just about being in a circle, it's about being accepted, where we are valued, where we matter. So the tendency comes with the awareness as we grow, and it is very vital for our growth. So peer pressure is then, I'd say, not just always bad, but good, because it allows children to learn between good and bad. But I think only when they are taught to do so. So teaching these skills are not just in the hands of the school, but most importantly, the upbringing of a child at home. And I believe social emotional learning, or SEL, can certainly help our children and youth make the choices that that are in their best interest, because it starts with self-awareness. So if social emotional learning is practiced for a longer period of time, it allows students to know about themselves, their beliefs, their emotions and behaviors, their relationship patterns, etc. They are also being aware about the social things. They are also being constructive about the decisions that we make. So I think, I believe, social emotional learning has a lot to give to make students' life better, and even our lives as an educator and parents. So I do believe that social emotional learning can help youth to make choices that they're in of their best interest, because that's what we do in social emotional learning. Because the fundamentals of social emotional learning, as per Castle's circle, we have self-awareness, social awareness, self-regulation, relationship skills, and responsible decision making. So these all, when fostered with the students, when we share this knowledge with students, when when school incorporates these ideas in their schools, then I definitely can feel, and also I've seen that the changes are coming through them, and they can be very critical about making the choices. Thank you so much for it.
Thank you, Saugat. Thank you. Sulafa, you are in that space, and you see millions and millions of dollars being spent on education, and yet our children are losing this sense of wonder. Where have we gone wrong? And in all your travels, in all your speaking, in all your work, have you come across any country where you felt, oh, they have got it right, they have it figured? It would be lovely to know.
So in the last 9 months, nations have faced a huge challenge in their infrastructure. Okay. And so although the pandemic was a medical crisis, the whole systems were challenged and affected. their economic systems, social systems, mental system, emotional systems, and of course, medical systems. We are at a phase where we need to recode our human capital system. So the return on the huge investments that are being placed to upbring the new nation is really in place. I wish if I have, seen this ideal teaching or learning systems that really shows the impact of the huge investments that are being placed in raising the new generation. However, I'm a very optimistic person. I believe that we are at a phase right now. We are at a phase where we need to recode our human capital system. Okay, so this return on investment is in its true place. Let's imagine, what if we had a chance to delete all the educational systems that are at place right now and create a system that really focuses on the future rather than the past and the present. Let's imagine that. Let's imagine using social emotional learning as a recoding tool to enable humans to focus on the skills that can empower them to deal with whatever they are going to face in the future. That the last 9 months prove that we cannot predict the future. We cannot. We can imagine what can happen, but if we had the ability as humans to predict the future, I am sure we would have dealt with the pandemic in a more positive leadership way. The number of deaths that are happening in the world, how this crisis had affected the societies just proves that we are not ready for the unknown future. So what are these skills that we need to use to create this imaginary educational systems? There are skills that are withdrawn from emotional intelligence and being embedded through social emotional learning, skills that enable humans to be data collectors, emotional data and rational data. So yes, statistics and numbers are important, but also people's feelings, own feelings, and other people's feelings are just as important. Skills that enable the young generation to imagine, to create, to innovate, to have resilience, but at the same time, they have the wisdom to criticize and to reflect so they can balance between the power of moving forward, but in a wise way. The skills that balances between envisioning the future, but at the same time being entrepreneurs in how they think of the processes of this future. Having these combinations of skills that are EQ based, only through these skills we can really create that system that would have the highest return on the investments that are being placed to educate our kids. As I've said, I'm a very optimistic person. I truly believe that this can happen. Seeing the work that is being placed around the world, in India, in Nepal, in Saudi Arabia, in Italy, in Malaysia, in Singapore, I am sure that when we really put hand in hand and if really societies focus on this kind of systems, there will come a day when we are really proud of our outcomes. Thank you.
Yes, I'm sorry, Sulafa. My mic was on mute. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I
thought I was disconnected. Sure.
I know. I had this question. I'm very curious. Which country? Was there any nation, any society, any civilization, any culture where you got a sense that, yeah, these people, they are maybe going about it the right way. Anything striking, anything that struck you? I love that you say that SEL is recoding. That's fantastic. But do share any such experience or impressions.
I haven't really met a society that is really up to what we expect. However, I have met a global society that is really focusing on spreading this thinking style. Okay, so 6 Seconds Society, because this is the organization that I am part of, they are trying to create a global society, having ambassadors in different countries, and each ambassador or partner is doing its best to create these systems in its own country. We have to be very sensitive to local needs, and how these needs speak to what challenges the societies are going through, what are the norms of these societies. So, as I've said, unfortunately, I haven't met that society that answers this question, but I have met a global society with global citizens that are all working hand in hand to create such a system.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you, thank you. Nancy, there is, there is a perception that teachers already have enough on their plates, and will the introduction of SEL add to their load and requiring them to put in extra effort? What's your take on that?
Well, I don't think so at all that it's a burden anyhow on the teachers, as we have to understand social emotional skills not only improve the students or the classroom behavior of the students, they can also have a positive impact on our personal and professional success as educators. We need to understand that to teach even social emotional learning, we need to be aware and continue to develop our own social emotional skills first. Only then we can model and teach those skills to our students. So, in a way, when we balance ourselves, when we balance our emotions, we are a better performer. Definitely, it's not a burden for a teacher, for an educator. As a starting point, definitely teachers have been through many of the teaching pedagogies time and again. And similarly, according to the dynamic times, according to changing times, they need to, adapt it. And, the sooner they do, the better it is. Ultimately, when they realize it's always a perspective, it is all for their own benefit. As a starting point, both educators and students, feel valued, feel safe when we focus upon social emotional learning. As Lata ma'am rightly said, that probably takes over a couple of years in a school to establish it. Coming from a family who runs schools in a Gurukul way, we have always seen holistic way education as a part of it. It was embedded. It was not something separate. So probably it didn't take an years to formulate it, but yes, it's a gradual process to make teachers realize that it is, a part of the process. It is good for them, and only then they inculcate the same among the students. Whatever we say, the self-awareness, the self-management, self-empathy, responsibility, decision-making, better skills, whatever we focus, as an outcome of SEL skills in the students, that is the outcome even in the behavior aspects of the educators, of the teachers. And I'll say social emotional learning is the new language of literacy. It is rather the substance of the teaching for each and every educator. We need to understand that the present world is full of opportunities. At the same time, it brings the challenges along. So when the educator himself or herself is ready, to embark with the new way of imparting their knowledge, they are, framing the way, a smoother way for the children to follow too, as they are the role models. And definitely, it surely helped the teachers as they target to build relationships over the period of time. If at all, I see myself being my dealing with the students, I feel it's all the more important to connect and to focus on their EQ rather than IQ. For me, IQ comes second. It is all the more EQ. And for anyone, be it any teacher that have, we also take meetings in the schools, and when we definitely tell, yeah, we may get initial, glitch or so, or the teachers are taking time to adapt to it, but then there's a way to it. I feel when the head of the school, it all depends upon the foundation. When the head of the school, when the principal of the school, when they are, embedded with the idea, and they are adapting with the idea, the entire management would, the entire students would. So it should come as a natural process rather than, opposing them like a burden or an added responsibility. As I feel, whatever perceptions the management take, it passes over to the teachers, and similarly, the teachers pass the same to the students. That has been my experience over the years personally among different schools wherever I go. And last, I'll say the students start monitoring themselves. And when the students start monitoring themselves, when we invest definitely day by day, bit by bit, it becomes a habit. And it's all the more carefree for the teachers to circulate now. It's so important in today era and digital era when the teachers cannot control the behavior of the child. And so it is all the more important, and rather, I'll say, dividing the burden, not increasing the burden, dividing the burden of the teachers when we focus upon social emotional learning of the students.
Thank you. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you very much. You are obviously doing in the thick of it. You can tell from your share, you're in the thick of it and you're seeing it all unravel. Sujata, I know of children and teenagers who have withdrawn from the news channel and the social media platform, some of them. They are in a kind of a state of, self-imposed isolation. They curate their environment. Are social and emotional skills personal attributes, or do they entirely depend on a benevolent and, a non-toxic environment? What would you say on that?
No, Nija, I think basically social and emotional learnings are really part of yourself. Yes, the environment sort of adds or subtracts from it. But I think that it's really, I think what it teaches children is to make choices that have happier outcomes. That's what it teaches a child to do. That, and I'm not saying, like you said, that these people are, probably were in a very toxic environment where they were, which is why they chose to leave. I don't say that they need to continue remaining in that toxic environment and, sort of breathe some of that toxicity. I'm saying that you of course, you try and make whatever changes you can within yourself, because a positive child or a positive, young person would also try and influence the people around them and try and bring a certain amount of positivity there. Having said that, I don't think that they should continue staying in a toxic environment. So at that point of time, you have to have the ability to take the right decision. That, am I going to be able to change the circumstances here, or shall I step out of this toxic environment? There again, it needs to be a positive decision, because you need to then move on into something more positive and leave that behind you. Close those doors and windows behind you and move forward. So that also becomes part of your social and emotional learning, or that is part of your basis, That is what allows you to move out with positivity and say, okay, maybe I made a bad choice, or maybe things around me were not great. Let's move on. Let's move on to something better. Maybe this was for the better. So it's really it's the attitude that you adopt to any particular situation that really reflects the strength of your sort of basic skills. And I think like Sulafa, as well as, Nancy said, that these things have to be part of they have to be part of the natural learning in the school. I don't think that a teacher needs to necessarily look at it as something additional that is being imparted. It needs to be part of their everyday education. And, I think all of us know about the happiness chemicals that are released. So it's not just it's, one part of it is, of course, the academic part of it, but there is a scientific part to the SEL also. So you have things like dopamine, you have things like oxytocin, which are actually released with a simple thing like, celebrating little wins, or just saying something positive to a child, just hugging a child, just maybe holding the child's hand, giving a compliment to the child, which really doesn't need to be a curriculum, which really needs to be part of your everyday sort of learning. Of course, a lot of things that schools are introducing in terms of maybe a little bit of yoga, meditation. These are again things that are known to scientifically release chemicals which are positive for the body. So, the SEL skills that we are talking about are not just emotional things. They are scientifically released chemicals which also sort of add to the sense of goodness. And you asked Sulafa in terms of a country where she's been. I haven't been to Bhutan, but I think, again, it's very interesting to study about the fact that they actually have a happiness quotient as part of the, national sort of the
Yes.
thing. They have a gross national happiness index. So is that something? Yeah. So is that something that we can introduce in our schools? Is there a way for us to actually measure some of the emotional outcomes that we are talking about and, have an index there? I don't know how, Bhutan has reacted in the current situation. It would be interesting to find that out. But I think that I'm just drawing, from the basic sort of concept that they have used. I think it's a great idea to have it, to introduce it in a school and see how we can measure it and see how happy the children are, because that's really what we're looking for. We're looking for positivity amongst children. We're just looking for a happiness quotient. That's what we're looking for. And these things come from I'll give you a very small example of how it can be introduced even in a home. In my own home, we live in a big joint family. My parents live with us. My father-in-law lives with us. And we've been very fortunate, as the children have grown, to have the huge family. And we've always made it, made the effort to have one meal in a day together. Of course, we try and do all three, but that's, most often not possible. But at least dinner, we try and make it a habit of sitting together for dinner. And what does it do? I think all you're doing is you're sharing what you did in the day. You're interacting with each other. You might be discussing a little bit of news. But I think it gives a certain connectivity to a child. It gives the child the ability to share. It gives the child the ability to imbibe, to know that, there are people older than me who I can share with. It just gives a very nice, strong base for a child to be able to share. And I think that the same thing needs to happen in a classroom. Whether you're just sitting around in a circle and sharing, just allowing each child to, so many children have difficulty in expressing. So it could be a simple sharing that you're doing of what you did yesterday, what you ate yesterday, but just in that sharing, there's so much more that you're sharing than just that thought. So, I mean, I'm sort of leaving with that thought in everybody's mind that I feel that it doesn't need to be a formal part of a curriculum. It just needs to be part of our everyday learning, whether in the home or whether in the classroom.
Thanks, Sujata. I'm going to take it quickly forward. One quick round, rapid fire. Sulafa, this is a thought that's occurred to me also. Here we are telling the young people, all right, guys, we've messed you up. And now we are going to give you a curriculum to help you cope with all the chaos that we've created around you. Why this need to have a special curriculum, Sulafa? A quick one from you.
I think we're living now in a more structured, the need of more structured systems. So yes, daily practices are good, but the kind of challenges that we're facing needs more structured systems that really embed the skills and empower.
Yes, the changes have been so rapid. They've been really, really rapid. In India, the changes that have happened in the last 10 years are changes that happened in other countries over 70 years. So that definitely. And Lata, wherever you've gone in schools, you've had them say, Lata, how are you going to manage the diversity of the children in a country like India, where we have inequity, or there's a certain kind of school, urban school, and then you have your rural school. And I'd like to know your answer. I'd like you to share it with everybody, please.
Okay, so the good thing about this skill, is it talks around emotions, and emotion is something that's a universal language. No matter which country, which state, which language speaking space you went to, emotions are same everywhere, and we talk from the perspective of emotion. So when we start from emotion, we have to look into our own emotions, what I am feeling, how the situation in the situation I am dealing with the situation. That is something about me. So everyone connects very easily with that when it comes to their own experience. It is not about how the other country, how the other person is experiencing something. It is about how I am taking it and how I am experiencing this moment and situation. So this is the best thing with this curriculum, I would say. This is the best thing about social emotional learning skill, is that it starts with emotion, and we all have emotions. So it's easy, whether you go to urban state, you go to rural place, you meet people from anywhere in the world. It is same for everyone. A smile, is a smile for everyone. So
Right.
that's the best
Thanks,
part.
Lata.
I like it.
Nancy, I have a question with you, for you. In all your work on SCL, have you quantified the outcome? How have you measured the effectivity and effectiveness of the programs?
So surely, measuring the effectivity of something which is related to emotions is really tough, as I say. But it is like gradually, day by day changes. When we are, connected, when we are running a school, when we are having an infrastructure, when, children are spending quite 8 hours with us, and then the rest of the part at their home, we definitely get regular update about it. And with the regular PTMs, open house meetings, we get to know about from the parents that how whatever we are practicing, each and every activity definitely is scientifically based, and the students, frankly, they don't get to know even that they are practicing a particular activity for a certain outcome. We get to know from the parents that how that is working or it is not working. So definitely, we keep a check, monthly checks and all. And as rightly put, we have something as a measuring thing also, as we have a life skills period, we call it as a zero period, which is in the beginning of the when we start from the academic subject, when they all discuss, when the students discuss with the teachers apart from the subjects, and what is bothering them, what's happening, something to share upon. So that tells us much upon how well they're being grounded upon.
Right. It is. I think a measurement is a complicated part of it, and but more and more schools and institutions are going to be requiring that. They're going to be asking for this
It's a
as
gradual process.
as it takes shape, and probably that will be the basis for adoption in certain quarters.
Entirely.
Certainly, yes. Sogat, you have the screen now, and the floor is yours. Share something with us. Share your most interesting SEL moment, a case history with a student or child that you have interacted with. Tell us. This is over to you. You have full 2 minutes to tell us something special from Nepal. That'll be great.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving me this platform to share at the end 2 minutes. So for me, I've embraced social emotional learning personally for a few years, and I have got a lot insights. I was not a person that I was like, I'm not a teacher like I am right now. I used to be a different kind of teacher, probably following some violent tactics to make students disciplined. So first of all, it was my choice to embrace all these things, not as a curriculum, but part of my learning, to part of my growth. So some of the favorite, there are lots of favorite. The favorite thing is like I am considered the best teacher for so many students. So that's something that I really love, because to get the letters from the students, to get the small things that's really precious. Sometimes they come with a smile. Sir, can I have a picture with you? Some stuff like that. So it's like really overwhelming for me. It's like so connecting to me. So the best thing that I've heard about, when we deliver social muscle learning to the classrooms is students are happy. So we take this, how are you feeling today? The check-ins and check-outs every time we enter the class, and then we check out from the class. So they have these things. They write the comments. They write the stuff that they really feel, how they liked, what they didn't like, and especially they say they are feeling happy, and they feel like we as a trainer, we had confidence for them. They shared about the stuff. And I've also had an opportunity, it's like so delightful, it's like so heartwarming that sometimes my students call me late night around 12, 1. They talk with me, they share with me different things about what's going on and what's making them feeling anxious. Sometimes they have sensitive to sounds and stuff, so they tell me to keep on talking, keep sharing something, keep speaking something. So it has allowed my children to embrace those space where they can share things with me, with my team, and then they get the best, just an opinion, not a fact kind of things, but it's being very productive for them. So I'm really glad that I embrace SEL, and I'm really glad that I'm sharing SEL.
Thank you,
Thank you
Sogat.
so much.
With that, we are coming to the end of the panel discussion. And thank you to all of you, to Vicky, to elementary education. And I just want to end with one note, that does it not scare you that if you watch the film Social Dilemma, what role will social media play in our SEL? But that's a topic for another discussion, because that is another alternate world, altogether alternate world out there. Thank you so much, each one of you. Thank you so much. Thank you, and look forward to implementing SEL soon in a school. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.